You are listening to the No Plays Off podcast, the show that highlights the student athletes of our future. I'm your host, Coach Quayle, and I'm here to share exciting entertainment with you. So please sit back and enjoy the show. Yo, what's going on? We are back with another episode of the No Plays Off podcast. It is your host, Coach Quayle, and on this episode, we will be catching you up with some exciting news in the Charlotte area with middle school basketball and some of the players who just stood out to me with the first half of the basketball season. Right now, it is Christmas break, so the students are on break. They took 2 weeks off to spend time with their family and, just relax and take a break from basketball in school. And this coming up week, we'll be attending more games. But let's go ahead and talk about those players and those teams that I saw that really stood out to me. We went to take a look at Ridge Road Middle School, Sun Valley Middle School, Weddington Middle School, Cannon, Lake Norman Charter, Charlotte Latin, Covenant Day, Charlotte Country Day, Metrolina Christian. Man, we went out to tons and tons of different games and watched a lot of players, and there were some key players that really stood out. I will say the first game that we attended was the Lake Norman Charter versus Charlotte Latin. And when I saw that game, I was like, I was blown away because middle school basketball is there's a different atmosphere in younger players when it comes around younger players when it comes to basketball, just because of the power of social media, and they can see the lives of college athletes or NBA players or the top athletes in high school, and they see the training that goes behind how to perform on the court. Like, it's like, you see players playing really well, but it's like, how did they get to that point? It's not just natural skills most of the time. It's just you actually put the work in the gym while you're not at, in a game or at practice, like you're doing it by yourself or with the trainer or, with the parent or older sibling or whoever, right? You're putting in that time when nobody else is watching. So that way, when people are watching, you're a whole nother animal. So the younger kids are now exposed to that these days, and they put on a show for me at the Lake Norman and the Charlotte Latin game. The kids that really stood out to me were the guard play at Lake Norman Charter, number 11 point guard, number 10 guard, and number 2, who's a small guard, but he has a lot of confidence. And man, that boy attacks. Sorry, excuse me for that. That boy attacks, right? Number 11 and number 10, they have a similar gameplay, and I don't know their names, but they're very crafty with the rock, and when they need to get a bucket, they'll get a bucket, and they're also a tandem on defense. Like, I like that. The only thing I saw when they played Charlotte Latin, they were definitely outsized, because I found out that Charlotte Latin has a player who is the son of a former NBA player, Nazir Muhammad. And he goes by the name of Nasir Muhammad. They call him Sir Muhammad, big number 50. He stands about 6'4", and that boy can play. He can play. Like, he is good. He can do it all. He's their big man, but he also brings the ball up the court a lot of times. He's like a point forward. He controls the tempo. He controls their offense. If they need a bucket, he'll go get it, put the ball on the floor. He can knock down the open jumper. He needs to work on his free throws, but that's fine. He knocks down his free throws, but he's not like a high percentage free throw shooter. He may be around the 70 percentile, which is okay. He's in middle school. He'll grow into it, and as long as he keeps practicing and putting the work at Charlotte Latin, he'll do his thing. And again, that's big number 50, Sir Muhammad. Then who also stood out to me at Charlotte Latin was number 22, their wing by the name of Ryan. I believe Ryan Lotta, if I'm not mistaken. That kid, he also plays pretty hard, as well as the other wing, number 25, Jordan Pence. So you have number 25, Jordan, number 22, Ryan on the wings, and they stand about maybe 6'1", 6'2". Like those boys are pretty tall as well. They stand like about 6'1", and they're about the same height and stature. And then you have big Sir Muhammad down there in the post. Like Charlotte Latin they look pretty good. Like I like watching them play. I actually saw them a few times. I saw them a few times. I saw them against Cannon, I believe, and I also saw them against Metrolina. And we're gonna go right into Metrolina. And I wanted to see them because of a kid named Dylan. Number 23, Dylan DeLuca. He stands about 6'4" as well. And I first saw Metrolina Christian when they played against Southlake Christian. And I saw that Dylan was basically just the runner of the show. They beat Southlake probably by 30 points. So when I saw that Metrolina and Charlotte Latin had a game coming up against each other very soon, I was like, that's the game I need to check out because I want to see Sir Muhammad and Dylan DeLuca play against each other and go head to head and see how that game went. And that game was a nail biter. It was close all the way up until it was close the whole game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Charlotte Latin either won by 3 points or they won by 1 point, but it was a very close game. And Dylan DeLuca and the matchup versus Sir Muhammad did not disappoint whatsoever. They were both forces on their block on the defensive and offensive ends. Dylan Dylan has great footwork. Dylan, that man, he has great footwork, and with him being in 8th grade, it can only grow and become better. He has great footwork on the block. He has great timing when it comes to blocking shots and staying patient on the defensive end. He has a great attitude. Like when his coach gets on him about certain things, he doesn't get upset and let that get into his head. He just continues to play his game and puts on a show for the fans. So Metrolina Christian and Charlotte Latin, those are two pretty good teams on the middle school level. And those players that I just named will be names to look out for coming in the future as they grow and mature into high school basketball and later on into the college atmosphere. Let's move on to Cannon School out in Concord. I looked at number 2, Tyler Martin. He's a guard. I like the way he controls the tempo of his team, and really he plays off the ball. He plays a 2 guard, but he also brings the ball up at times. And I like him at the 1 spot. I really do. He's a lefty, and just they have a point guard that plays in front of him at the 1 position, but he starts at the 2. But just the way he controls the floor, he reminds me of a Goran Dragic. With that left hand and the way he attacks. He's real smooth. He's smart. He's very smart. His basketball IQ is high for an 8th grader. And as he continues to get older, it'll show and it really stand out in his gameplay. And if he gets around the right base as far as like training and the people behind him, he can really become a standout player at Cannon School. And then number 4, Tyler Green. So we have number 2, Tyler Martin, and number 4, Tyler Green. Tyler Green is a high volume shooter. That man, don't leave him open. He'll light it up on you. That guy, and he also attacks pretty well. So Tyler Martin, number 2, and number 4, Tyler Green at Cannon School. They stood out to me and they did their thing while I was watching them play. And I've seen Cannon play multiple times due to the power of streaming. So they live stream their home games, and I watched them quite a bit. So and Tyler Martin and Tyler Green has always stood out every time I watched them. I also got a chance to take a look at in the Charlotte area in the public schools. I looked at a Sedgefield in Whitewater, and at Sedgefield, we come across a kid named Cameron Brown who stands at about 6'2", and he's only going to grow. That man, I like his work ethic. I like his attitude. I like his demeanor on the court. He just plays hard. That man plays hard, and he's already on the basketball scene playing at CP3 camps and big camps around the East Coast. So his name is up there in the works, and as he continues to get older, his name will only grow higher on the ranking charts. and I had a chance to speak with his mom, who was also a great woman, and I think very highly of Cameron Brown, and I want to see more. I'm going to go to more Sedgefield games over the course of this season, on the second half of the season. So, Cameron Brown, if you're listening to this, we're gonna come see you play, man. You better put on a show for us. Then we also got a chance to watch Sun Valley Middle School against Weddington Middle School out in Monroe, and let me tell you this. Sun Valley Middle School, that was a very packed out game. Like, the game was packed. It was hard to find a seat. And it was a show. It was a show they really put on with Tyree White Jr. Then they had Austin at number 1. And then I come across my main man, Cedric Keenan. And boy, that number 2. That kid, he's a great kid, because I actually was hooping out at Carolina Courts and Indian Trail, and I saw Cedric there, and I was like, he wanted to play on the team, so I let him run the point guard with me, and he actually held his own, and he was playing against 2 older guards who I know to be actually pretty good in the game of basketball. And Cedric held his own at the 8th grader, standing about 5'9", 5'10". And Cedric really just showed his composure, and he was poised at the position. And I let him run the show. And anytime he needed help, I just went in, helped him out at the guard spots. And that was an open gym. And I also, like I said, I saw him first at a basketball game against Weddington Middle School, and Cedric played very hard, man. Cedric played hard. He was that firepower. He was the 3rd option at Sun Valley, but he can easily be a 1st option at any school. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the night, Cedric can light it up. Then I also saw Tyree White Jr., number 3. He was the man of the show at Sun Valley. He really controlled the team. It was his tempo. The game moved under his control. He knew how to find players when the player themselves didn't even know they were open. And then I also took a look at Austin, who started lighting it up from deep. He probably hit like 3 3-pointers back to back. And him and Tyree and Cedric, they're just a trio that I don't see them losing this year. I see them going undefeated and taking that division championship out in Indian Trail and Monroe and that area. Who else did we go see? We saw Carmel Christian, the South Charlotte Thunder, who is a homeschool team. Then we saw Hickory Grove, and they had a player that stood out to me, number 22, I believe. I had a chance to talk with his father, and that kid was good. He was undeniably good, and I'm not going to speak too much on him because I got to the game very late, maybe like in the 4th quarter, and he still was playing hard when everybody else was kind of slouched down. He was still going hard, and they took that game against Charlotte Latin, and it was this other Charlotte Latin. I believe they have 2 teams, a 7th grade and 8th grade team, and Hickory Grove played against their 7th grade team, I believe, or A team or B team. And that they took that W pretty easy, and he stood out to me a whole lot. Who else did we go see? Ridge Road Ravens. Man, I got to see one of I believe this kid, L.A. Boyd, Langston Boyd. He has tremendous upside in the basketball scene coming up. I think he will be one of the top players in Charlotte as he continues to get better, because I spoke with his father, the CEO of Dem Boys Films, who does highlights for his son, as well as other players that he plays with. But I got a chance to look at some of his videos on YouTube, and I just saw the character that he displays. And I spoke with his father, so I know I have an idea of who his father is and who he was raised by. So that kid has an extremely high upside and a lot of potential when it comes to basketball. So I'll be looking more forward to watching him and the Ridge Road Ravens on the second half of this season. And check out them boys' films. They have. Let's look at their Instagram handle. It is C Boyd's Film. CBoydFimz. C Boyd Films on Instagram. And Langston LA Boyd, he does it all on both ends of the floor. He's a lefty. And he attacks the rim with reckless abandon. He can also knock down the jumper. He hits his free throws. He shoots gaps on defense. He gets those steals. He slides his feet. He's like Kawhi Leonard, man. Like, that's the best way to explain it. He's a Kawhi Leonard of middle school basketball from what I've seen at this age level. And he's really going to make a name for himself as he continues to grow. So that was the first half of the Charlotte area middle school basketball. On the second half, we will be looking at a bunch of other different games, and I will be bringing you information on a lot of other players and families and individuals and schools. So stay tuned, and I will update you every single week with more exciting entertainment in the middle school area of Charlotte basketball. So guys, I will talk to you later. I'll see you on the next episode of No Plays Off Podcast. Have you been thinking about starting up a podcast? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. First of all, it's free. Then there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your episodes right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more outlets. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in a podcast all in one place. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thanks for joining us on this episode of No Plays Off. Make sure to visit our website at npoelitehoops.org, where you can get more details on the program, such as rosters, upcoming schedules, and shop our team apparel. We also accept donations and sponsorships, which fund our players in ways such as uniforms, team tournaments, practice time, team meals, and much more. You can also find us on social media at NPO Elite Hoops on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, please subscribe, and we appreciate a rating. Or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that will help us out too. Be sure to tune in for our next episode. This is Coach Quail, and I'm signing out. Stay blessed.